Oh my gosh. Hi, Jeroen.
Hey, hey,
Hi.
hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to our lives on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. We told you we'd be consistent, and we are here. I am Laycya Holmes-Graham. I am the Regional Customer Success Manager for Inova Solutions, and it's a pleasure to be here with you again at lunchtime. For those in Jamaica, big up to us, we're free. We can drive on the street. So, welcome to being back on the road and thank you for taking the time to be with us. Today, I have the managing director of Get Responsive again with me. His name is Jeroen Heerschop. Yes, I'm learning Dutch, so I can pronounce his name very well.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. And he and I are going to just share in Power Platform. Yes. So for these lives that we're going to be in for the next couple weeks, we're going to be focusing on Power Platform. And that's feedback coming from our customer base across the region. Most customers now are heavily focused on analytics, whether it's from a supply chain perspective or just from a financial perspective. And so today we're going to focus on that. But I'm going to pause and allow Yoram to talk about himself, and tell us about those
Thank you.
beautiful sunflowers in the background. They're so
Yeah,
lovely.
nice, huh? Yeah, that's
Yes, they
really the
are.
period.
They really
I'm
are.
I'm uh, I'm living in the Netherlands, and currently the sunflowers are everywhere. So I thought that's a nice view. Yeah, I'm indeed founder and director of Get Responsive, and we focus on providing training in the Power Platform. And yeah, we have a lot of fun doing that, and we also love to share about it on LinkedIn, like these sessions. So thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Awesome. And it's always great to be here with you. And so, as you know, you've trained me, and we've done so much together when it comes to Power Platform. So, what we really want to do today is to keep it really simple. A lot of our customers have been telling us, yes, Lace, you know about it. That's nice. But can you just keep it really simple for us? If I'm new and if I've never used it before, and okay, fine, there are lots of videos online, but I really want us to just take the time to just go into the basics. If I am starting off using Power BI for the first time, what are some of those first tips that you would guide a new user in? What are some of the things that they should be looking out for or trying for the first time instead of feeling like they're overwhelmed because it's a database data platform?
Uh, it's very simple. Maybe for the people who don't know it, Power BI is a solution from Microsoft and available in Office 365. Maybe that's the first suggestion. It's in Office already, so a lot of people don't know that. They ask me, okay, where can I download this and how should I implement this? No, it's already there in most companies. It's in Office 365. So you can download Power BI Desktop for free. It has unlimited capabilities. It's not limited in any way. And Power BI Desktop allows you to make these interactive dashboards because that is what Power BI does. And I can show you in a minute a quick demo of the different steps to go from any data source to a interactive dashboard. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But if you want to really start today, just start maybe with an Excel sheet with a lot of data and load that in Power BI and start playing around with visuals and discover that you can make interactive dashboards. So it's not like Excel, you make a static list of numbers, and you have a lot of formulas that you have to drag down, etc. Power BI dashboards are much more visual, and interactive means that you can click on any part of a visual, a graph, can also be a table. A table is also visual, and the other graphs in the same page will change accordingly. So you will filter based on clicking on a value, and the rest will change. But it's much better to show it, I think. But
Yes.
yeah, just don't be afraid to start. That's my main tip because it's very straightforward.
Thank you. That's a good idea. So I just want to highlight where people can download it. So that's www.powerbi.com. You can download it for free. You don't have to have a license for that. When it is that you are actually now going into larger database sizing, etc., that's when you actually have to purchase a license, or if I think you want to publish or something to that.
Yeah, and in addition, where you have to pay for the Power BI Pro license, as it's called, is mainly meant when you want to share it internally or externally to a specified group of people. So
Right.
that's where you pay for, and the one who puts it online pays for it, but also the one who reads it have to pay this license, and it's about $9 or $10 per month per user. So that's if you want to share it in a safe way, then you have to start paying the license fee. Yeah,
Exactly. Okay,
yeah,
so let's start to show people what they're
yeah.
going to be using.
Okay. Let me first show you this slide because Power BI, like I said, is going from data to dashboard. And I think there are four main steps in there, which I also want to highlight in a quick demo. And at first, of course, you need to load data. Without data, it will be hard to make a dashboard. So I will show you how you do that. You have very easy ways to make transformations in your data, and that can be applying a filter or changing certain values. Things maybe you do now in Excel every week, every month manually, saying replace this by this and change these formulas, etc. Uh, there is an easy way in Power BI to do that, so I will show that. You can load data from all kinds of different data sources. It can be an Excel file or a database or a website maybe. Uh, Modeling the data means how do you link those data sources together so that you can make one visual over all these data sources. I had a call this morning with someone and he stated, oh, this would be very nice to combine it because we have now a single report per source system. If I want to do something financial report, okay, I download it from my ERP system and I have a financial report and I have another report for commercial. But combining them in Excel is pretty hard, right? Because they often get too heavy. You can't combine it in an easy way. Now, Power BI allows you to do that. So in the end, you can visualize that data on top of the data that we loaded and transformed. You can visualize, and that's maybe the easiest step if you've done the first three steps the right way. By the way, I think if people have questions, it's open for questions, Laycya.
Right.
So
So if
let me
persons
know.
have questions, yes, they can definitely ask.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you're team live or team replay, please let us know in the chat. And
Oh
also
yeah.
let us know which country you're from. And also it would be nice to know which industry, please. That would be
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah, nice. So let's go to Power BI Desktop. And you mentioned where you can download. You can also download it, by the way, from the Microsoft Store. And the
Yes, that
benefit of
is true from the Microsoft Store app. Correct.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, and the benefit of that is because there is a monthly update going on. That will be automatically applied if you download it from the store. So that's a benefit. This is Power BI Desktop. So that is where you create your own dashboards. At first, it might seem a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot of buttons, of course. But I will show you quickly what the basic functionalities are. Let's start with loading the data. That was the first step that we just saw. Loading the data, it's quite easy. You go to the home and let's see, get data, it's called. Get
Right.
data.
Data. Right.
So you have here a button get data. So I've pressed that, give it some time. And let me zoom in a little bit so that you can read it
Right.
better.
And I think it's
Um,
important to note here that we can use any database type.
yeah,
I think most persons, when we talk to customers or we let people know, they feel, oh, Microsoft can only pull Microsoft database types. No,
no,
you can
no,
pull IBM, you can pull Postgres, you can pull any type of database, you can pull MailChimp, you can pull YouTube data. 250 plus connectors available
yeah,
through Power BI. And so that's what makes it so versatile. So I just want to highlight that so that people
yeah,
are aware of that.
yeah, that's a very good point. And actually, it is much larger than those 250 because yeah, you have some common interfaces. And now I know maybe I go too technical, but every system that's running online has a way to connect to the underlying data. Be it with an API, that's very technical, but
Right.
a lot of solutions, your data is accessible by you. If you ask your vendor, how can I access my data in an easy way without me having to export report for report, what a lot of
Right.
people still doing, that's not necessary anymore. A lot of solutions have a much easier way to go to the database, so to say, with
Right.
Power BI. But
Yes.
I'm gonna now use a database, but you can do exactly the same. It works with other data sources or that Excel that I mentioned before. So I have under my recent sources, let me use a database. It's a simple SQL database, but it could have as well. It could have been another file or system. The way of working is exactly the same. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to load a couple of tables from my database. One is about the debtors, so these are companies. One is about all kinds of invoice numbers and for what relation that, and for what customer that invoice is. And the last table is about, okay, for every invoice, what is the amount, what's the payment date and the invoice date, right?
Right.
So it's
Right.
very easy tables just as a demo to showcase the functionalities. So I can click on these, but it would have been the same if this would have been an Excel file and I've added 3 sheets of that Excel file, right? The way of working is exactly the same. Yeah. As long
Right.
as there are columns in the data source, it will work.
I want to break it down a little simpler for people because sometimes when you say database, people are like, "Oh, it's a hard thing."
Yeah.
A,
Yeah.
a Excel table is a database, right?
It
So
is. It
let's
is.
just
Yeah.
break that down, right? And anything that has columns and rows is essentially a database.
Yeah.
So
You
when
see
we
here the
spend
preview, right? You see here the
right,
preview. It's just 3
exactly,
columns. That's it. So I'm gonna now load this data into the memory of Power BI.
right,
So I'm just gonna load it and it asks me, do you want to import it or do a live connection? Now let's just import the data into the memory. So now
right,
it's gonna load and I'm working in Power BI Desktop and I'm creating now a new file. So let's save this file. And in the beginning, you could even share this file, maybe, just like an Excel file. But this file will contain, I will call it demo Innova. So this file contains the data, all the transformations, the visuals, everything I'm doing after this is in this single file. Yeah, so that's good to remember. The data I've loaded, and you see it on the right-hand side, you see here fields, and you see there's exactly the same 3 tables and the fields or the columns that were in there. You see that? It's exactly the same. And if I now want to create a visual, it's already indicated here in the middle. This white screen you see here, that is the actual dashboard. All the buttons around it is to create it, but this is what the user of your dashboard will see in the end. Yeah.
right,
And to create a visual, it's just dragging and dropping these fields, a little bit like a pivot table. Maybe some of the people who are watching know that. You drag and drop it. So if I want to know how much is the amount um, per invoice, let's start simple. Huh?
right. So we
So
can look at that as well. Just a note, just to expand on that point. So for
yeah,
those of us on this session today who are deeply rooted in Excel, Power
yeah,
BI is essentially like the new Excel. And a lot of this
yeah,
experience is very similar to creating pivot tables. So
yeah,
that's why Jeroen was highlighting that earlier. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
mhm.
so you will see some functionalities that you think, hey, there's a little bit Excel, there's a little bit Access, maybe some people know that still.
Yes,
There's a little bit PowerPoint. It combines a little bit of
right.
those
Especially the
functionalities.
section where you're connecting the tables. That section is very similar to Access database
Access,
management, where
correct.
when
Yeah,
you're connecting the tables with the similar or the unique identifier, so that you can actually
correct.
have proper table cross integration with the tables.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah, yeah,
important to note as well for persons who are real database person.
Correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm now going to show just a simple graph with the amount per invoice. So what you do is you drag and drop the invoice number, and I know already this is not going well yet, but I'm coming back to that. But you drag and drop the invoice number, you drop it here. So now you will get a list with all the invoice numbers, right? And I can just add the amount to that same visual. And you see here amounts. But are they amounts? Because they are on the left-hand side, just like in Excel. It's more like a text, right? Let's add another one. So the invoice date and also the amount. So I can add another visual here, right, with the amount per date. But here you see a lot of dates and a lot of amounts. So something is not going well yet. So I need to make some transformations. I need to check, hey, the data that I loaded might not be yet in the format that I would like it to have, because I would have expected here maybe one date, 10th of April, and then the total amount, right? I want to have it aggregated. So that's that second step here, the transform data. That's where I'm now going. And that's here on the this button. So we were first getting data, and now we're gonna transform data. That
I
will
want to
open it.
sit here
Yeah,
a little bit, because this is so critical, especially for persons who manage large volumes of data and don't
yeah,
necessarily always have the time to be looking row by row, right?
yeah,
And this transformation data allows for us to be more effective and efficient at analyzing the data quickly to identify if there's any what we call garbage in, garbage out taking place, or any dirty data,
yeah,
anything that may have an error. As we know, for those of us who program, a space, a comma, a semicolon can cause challenges. It
yeah.
can cause you to spit out issues with your visualization. So this section allows us to just look at the cleanliness of that data and transform
Yeah.
it quickly, so we can quickly get the dashboards and make the
Yeah,
decisions we need to make.
and the nice thing is you have to only once clean it, because like I
Right,
said, it's saved in this file,
right,
and in the end I will publish it online, and every time I refresh the dashboard it will repeat the same cleansing steps. You don't have
right,
to redo them every time like in Excel mostly.
right.
And that's a big benefit, I think. So what I see in the invoice status, I was using this table, so you see exactly the same three tables as before. I see here, I zoom in a little bit, I see that I have 4 columns, but they're all formatted like a text. You see? And if it's a text, just like in Excel, I can't summarize it. I can't do any calculations with it, right? So apparently in the database source, it's formatted as a text for some reason, but I can change it here. So I can say here, no, actually this column is a decimal number. And maybe let's continue looking at, this is also not a text, this is a date. So by clicking on this icon, you can change, the type of this field, of this column. So I will
Right.
change this to a date, and I will change this to a date. And when I do that, you see that right
You see
away,
the format
see,
change.
it's
Right.
another format now.
Hmm.
And if I zoom out again, on the right-hand side, you see all the different steps. Every transformation I do, a new step is added here. And that allows you to maintain it, to change it, to maybe change the order. So you are in full control on the source, what you have loaded, what transformations are to be done. So I could also delete it if I maybe made a mistake or something. I can delete it here. So I have full flexibility on how I want to change the data. So let's close and apply this.
Right. I want to pause here and I want to just highlight something that's really important. Right.
Mhm.
A lot of the times we think that dashboards are the beginning of business intelligence, right? The
Yeah,
beginning of business intelligence is clean data,
yeah,
right?
true.
And
Yeah,
proper relationships between the tables that allow you to create your dashboards. So we want to be
yeah,
realistic about what we're getting involved in when we start to create dashboards. whether it's
Yeah.
at a management level, an executive level, a board level, or even at a user level. It does not matter. The data
Yeah.
has to be clean. The data has to be of the correct type. You cannot
Yeah.
have financial data and it's a string. You cannot have data that is supposed to be a date and it's alphanumeric. It needs to be clear so that when you're pushing that data out, it makes sense to who is consuming it, right?
Yeah.
So that's very, very, very important because it saves you a lot of time and a lot of
Yeah.
headache. So we want to make sure that that's clear.
80, correct. 80 or 90% of the work of your dashboard is getting the data in the right shape. So let's continue. So what I can do now is, I see here that it's now showing a number still per date. You see here the definition of this visual. Let's change it to another type of visual, because you see here all kinds of visuals, and this still looks a lot like Excel, right? But you can here change it to a clustered bar chart, for example. This visual. And let's put the amount in the values. And you see a lot of bars now here. I'm gonna change it a little bit, but I will explain later why I do that. So here I have now a format where, let's make it a little bit larger, and you see that's a little bit like PowerPoint, so you can move things around, and you can align it nicely, just like a PowerPoint picture. So I see here now the amount, so I can maybe say now let's rotate it, because time I want to have here. But because I have formatted now as a date, it also allows me, you see now that in the field pane, I also have options to show it by year, by quarter, per month, etc. So I can put now also the month in the graph. And the definition of this visual, I can drag and drop it to the visual just like I did before. But here you see the definition. So just like a pivot table, you see what's in the axis, the dates, what is in the values, the amount. And you can use this to change the layout of your visual. So if I, for example, move month in the axis and delete the date here, you see now that it is shown by month. And if I add also the year on top of that, I can show it by year. Now it's only 2020, but if it would have been more years. And the interactivity is right away there, because now I'm getting everything from one single table. If I select June, for example, you see that here this is refreshed. So I can make this also into a nice bar chart. Let's put it like this. And you see that if you click on months, you see that the amounts are highlighted that are related to this particular month. You see? So the interactivity is right away there, both ways. So let me show you one more thing. What if I would use now, I want to see the amount by debtor, by consumer, by customer. So let's put the relation code maybe here in the new graph. So I can just keep on adding visuals, as you can see. And I'll use the amount again. And let's also make a bar chart out of that. And I'm going to change again the y-axis to a category, because now it's showing numbers. So, and this is what you see, and that's a little bit strange, right? Because now every customer seems to have the same amount outstanding, the same amount of invoices. And that, of course, can't be right. Now, and here you have the data modeling part that plays a role. And it's very handy if you start using Power BI to learn a little bit the basics of a data model. And Laycya, you were referring to access,
Right.
and to keys and stuff like that. If you know those basics a little bit, it gives you already 80% of the capabilities of Power BI, right? Because what has been done is that here already a relation has been made, but this where I got the amount from is not linked yet. You see, it's completely not linked to the other two. So you need to, just like a vertical lookup, I often compare it with, how does this table talk with this table? Well, I've here an invoice number and I've here an invoice number, right? And so you can, it's a little bit like a vertical lookup. You say this invoice number, I drag to this invoice number because they are related. It should be the same invoice numbers in both tables, right? This one Power BI already made himself. So he made a link between the relation ID in the invoice table and in the debtor. You see, he made a connection. So now all three tables are linked. So let's go back to the visual now. And you see now that the relations do show different amounts per customer. Now the different tables talk with each other. So if I now would select June, you would see that also this is now interactive. You see?
Right. So let's pause here a little bit in terms of just highlighting how that applies realistically. So just as how in accounting processes or any form of financial process where there's a verification and you verify using unique identifiers, whether it's an invoice number, a PO number, or something to that effect. It's similar to when you're projecting data that you're financially analyzing, whether it's sales, accounts receivables, and that sort of thing. Yes. So
Yeah.
if you look and you're doing a visualization, right? And this is very common for anybody doing it new, and you see that happen where everything has the same content, usually it's because a unique identifier that's in the table is not connected with one of the main tables in the source data. So that needs to be done so that everything is clear and that it makes sense when you look at it. So it goes back to just understanding your data first and also asking the question, what do I want to display? Before you even get a chance to bake it, what am I trying to look for? So if I'm running a sales operation, I want to see revenue, cost of sales, cost of goods sold, things like that. If I am marketing, I want to see different costs of marketing efforts. I want to see the return on investment. If I am dealing with finance, I want to see receivables and so forth. So what are the different things that I need to see in my role in order for me to have a dashboard that is sensible? If I am in a role where I have metrics to meet, do I want to see those things? Do I want to see a dial? So we have those different things as we're creating the dashboard. So I just wanted to highlight that so that people can be clear on where to start instead of just jumping in. We think about what we're going to do and then we go into that, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And one thing to add there, it always makes sense to have a dashboard is a different thing than an Excel file. So in a dashboard, ideally, just like I was showing here, you have a KPI saying, okay, what's the percentage overdue, for example, right? And you see it here over time. And when you see that in March, for example, it was very large, you can click on it and you can see, okay, what customers are really overdue. So the red ones here, for example. But if I select a customer, this one is a large amount overdue. I can click on it and I see what invoice it is that was really overdue there. Right? So you can go top down from this one percentage overdue to the customer level to the transactional data. And that's nice about these dashboards because you build it up from the details, right? So you can also do it the other way around. And that's that people need to be aware of. So don't show right away all the invoices and all the overdue amounts, but try to translate it into a KPI and then go into the details step by step with only 2 clicks. Because I did only 2 clicks from the high level number to the invoices. I click this month. Oh, here it's very high. Oh, this customer is very high. Click, and this is the invoice, right? And this maybe has tens of thousands of invoices underneath it.
Okay.
That's the cool thing about Power BI. Yeah.
Thanks, Jay. So
Yes.
we want to pause here and we want to stop here. We don't want to give everybody everything. We have to make them digest, take time. So we want to close out and thank everybody for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll ask the team to drop our emails in the chat. We're coming back next week again to get into deeper sessions. So tell people about it, invite them over to just come. This is free. This is something that you would have to pay for. So come and join. and test together. Let's learn together on how to be more analytical about what we're managing as people and just everything in general. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Remember to come back again at the same 1 o'clock time. And thank you so much, Jeroen, for
You're
being here
welcome.
with us
It was a
again.
pleasure. Yeah, thank you also. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye.